Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the WODcast podcast. I am your host, Eddie Ifft, and each and every week I bring you a brand new episode of this show, which, sorry about the static right there. As you can see, I'm having a bit of some, occasionally I have some audio-visual problems, but we're going to work through those. I bring you a show every week on health, fitness, strength conditioning, sports, fitness. It's a lot of, we run the gamut, but the truth is it's all based in CrossFit, which is functional fitness, which is a hobby of mine. I am no expert by any means. I bring on a lot of experts. This week I bring on one of my favorites, a friend of mine, gym owner, coach, former stand-up comedian, funny guy, inspirational, great athlete, former college athlete, and former host of this show, Kane. Kenny's one of my favorite people in the world. I could sit and talk to Kenny for nonstop. Like it's hard to stop talking to him. And sometimes these episodes are hard to do. Sometimes it's just I just don't catch a vibe with the person and have difficulty trying to just try, conversing. But Kenny never. And I wanted one of those episodes. I wanted an easy flow, and I feel like we got into an amazing conversation. Talked a lot about having kids and training and basically the job of a coach and a health and fitness trainer, what your responsibility is to make someone a better person. I've been watching Ted Lasso lately on HBO, on Apple. It's won tons of Emmys, and Bill Lawrence is the executive producer, who I'm kind of a fan of. And anyway, the show, the guy's whole philosophy about coaching is that of his job is to make these people into better people, and to making them into better people, they'll win more because they will work together as a team and work out all their problems. And I don't know. It's as much as I'm a cynic of everything and like to look for the joke. Being a father, things have changed. I'm maybe not so cynical. I have a different outlook, a different perspective. What Ted Lasso does and what Kenny Kane talk about, to me, resonate. And I think a lot of you will take a lot from this conversation and understand what Kenny's trying to do. Other than that, what's going on? I'm doing a lot of stand-up right now. I'm touring. I'm trying to dodge COVID wherever I go. I'm vaccinated. I have no problem saying that. I'm not proud of that I'm vaccinated, but I'm not embarrassed. I'm not ashamed. You can say whatever you will. I don't want to get political. Look, it's my choice. And but I am touring. I am doing shows, and most of them have been outdoor. Some of them have been indoor. This week I'm at the Improv and the Comedy Store in Hollywood, and then I start on tour. I'll be in Ventura. I'm slowly easing into it. I'm going to Ventura. Then I go to Kansas City. Then I go to Atlanta. My dates up in the Bay Area, in the South Bay, have been canceled. The club did not reopen yet. So those will be postponed until February of next year. But I go on to San Diego, and I'm all over the place. So check out my dates at eddieiff.com. Come out and see me. I mean, literally, I'm going everywhere from Key West to Anchorage. So I will be in North Carolina. I will be in, there's so many. Dallas, Texas. Yeah, you name it, I'm coming. So book your tickets. Get them now. Shows are going great. New special is going to be shot January 22nd at the Irvine Improv. Tickets are going to go on sale soon for that. Soon. Because that is where I shoot my special. So we will sell that place out for one night. If you're in the LA area, come see it. Have had some people complain that they haven't gotten their Mayapucks or Leopard claws yet. There are a number of issues with that. I think there's 3 of you that have not received them yet. Problem being, if you didn't realize, I was out of town. We had a death in the family, and I've been out of town. I didn't do shows for a couple weeks because of that. Number 2, they are dealing with, just like everybody else in the world, supply chain issues at Mayapucks and Leopard Claw, because they get their stuff overseas, and some of it is not available yet. They are now no longer giving a Leopard Claw. It's called a Leopard Paw. Check it out at their website. It's mayapucks.com, I believe. And we will, every week, if you donate to our Patreon, and I want to thank everyone that has. You don't realize how much that helps the show, knowing it basically pays all our bills. And it's nice to know that I have a fan base, a very small one, that supports the show weekly. And those funds that they give me pay that I never go into debt with the show. It's nice to know that I'm not going into debt with the show. I would still do it even if I was. But I am not. I don't want to go into debt. So every week, basically, if you give at least $5 to the show a month, it's $5 a month. That's $1 an episode. You get an extra episode, which I haven't done in a while. Yes, so I'll get a couple up there. I'm trying to do it. There's people I hit up that don't know me, and I want them from random, that I'm trying to get them. You know, like I did one of them with Chris Cote, who's in the surfing and skateboard world. I did one with Shane Moss, who's in the psychedelic drug world. I want to do one with this guy named Glenn Plake, who's into like off-roading and skiing. I want to do one with this guy that lived in a Syrian prison for a year or 2 years. Those are different. Those are they're off the beaten path episodes that I hope you listen to, and you can only listen to them if you're a Patreon member. So that is the 5th episode. Other than that, you get a nice Mayapucks and a Leopard Claw, which are incredible rehabilitation kind of devices that you're going to use to get yourself out of injury. I can't tell you how much, as an older guy, I work on, like I work out and then I do stuff to work on my body. This week alone, I used my Theragun roller, I used my Theragun, I used my Mayapucks, and I used some lacrosse balls, and I'm always constantly trying to maintain my body. And I think you should too, and you should have an arsenal of materials that you need. You should have a whole bag of stuff that you use. Like, you buy weights and you go to a gym, you should have a whole bunch of rehab stuff. And that's what's going to keep you working out and keeping you going strong and long. Strong and long. That's what we want you to do. Live long, live strong. And you're going to do that with this kind of stuff. So get yourself a Mayapucks and a Leopard Claw. Great way to get them. They're like $450 combined, I believe, for both of them. You can get them for $5 a month. $5 a month. Just give to the Patreon. Go to patreon.com/WODcastPodcast or WODcastPodcast.com/Patreon. This week's winner, there is a winner this week. Let's see who you are. I am Googling to see who was the Patreon winner. Is this? Oh no, that is not the winner. I am sorry. I lost our winner. Who is our winner? Misty Turner. I know we are getting yours to you. I hope, Stephen Jeremiah, you got yours. I got a crying baby in the background. Gabriel Mickus, you are the winner of a Leopard Claw and a Mayapucks. Send me an email at wodcastpodcast@yahoo.com, and we will shoot that over to them. And basically what they do is they send you a code, and you just go on their site, and you put in the code, and you get it. Okay? You order it, it's sent to your place, and that's it. So congratulations, and thank you to everybody that has given. Okay? Now let's talk about what's going on with the show coming up. Looking for good guests. I got to be honest with you. The ones that rate high are the CrossFit Games athletes. They rate really high. But if you ask me, they might be my most boring episodes. So I'm blaming myself for that. I put the challenge to myself that I am going to do more research and write more comedic material so that when I talk to these guys, I am responsible for making it a better episode. All right? So don't blame them. Blame me. And I'm going to try to get Medeiros, and I'm going to get Fikowski. I want to talk to Fikowski. I I think Tony Jeffries I'm going to talk to next week. Tony Jeffries about the boxing match that's coming up with Josh Bridges, the boxing matches with all these YouTube idiots, and what's the state of boxing. And Tony's just a great trainer and a great coach. So I was supposed to work with him last week, and we had to reschedule for this week. But today, again, our amazing guest is one of my favorite people in the whole world. That is Kenny Kane. So enjoy this episode with Kenny Kane. Are we seeing you, Captain America, right now in the home gym?
You are in, yes, I'm in my home gym right now.
Wow, that's sweet. It looks like a Swedish sauna.
It is. Want me to show you the sauna?
I'd love to see the sauna.
Okay, so let me give you a little tour here. So there's Muhammad Ali, and my first, you'll appreciate this, my first pair of soccer cleats.
Oh, that's awesome.
And they're called the Juice Mobiles. I got them in 1976, named after O.J. Simpson, the Juice Mobile.
My first pair of cleats were Tony Dorsett's.
Amazing.
Tony Dorsett.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. So then, well, we got pulled. And then we just converted.
I can't believe I just tried to one-up you when you were wearing the cleats of a murderer.
Yeah, totally. And I'm keeping them up.
You should.
You know, if the cleat don't fit, you know what they say. Anyway, so here's so I got my pull-up rig, punching bag, all that stuff, rigs. And then around here we got the kids' trampoline.
Wait, before you continue, what do the neighbors think of all this going on?
Well, I've made good friends with them. Okay. One side is very comfortable with the whole situation. Another side, not so. I just finished a pretty tough workout. Toby came over and we worked out, and we had a good little session. And then there's the sauna. Oh, the sauna. Hello, we're doing the sauna, and there's the sauna and our ice bath. Mm-hmm. And this is the Casa de Kane. That's how we roll.
That's amazing. I love it.
Yeah.
And then who did that? Who put that together for you?
Blair did it for us.
What's Blair's company so we can give him a plug?
Mobile Gym Tech.
He does amazing work. That looks beautiful. He's
helped a lot of people, including me, with a lot of stuff. He's the one that designed our current gym and did a really beautiful job with it and knocked it out of the park. So, it's a great place to train.
There's a lot of guys like you that are gym owners that have a home gym. Can you tell me why?
Mm-hmm. Well, when we moved here, we had the space. And first of all, look, I mean, it's just such a big part of our life. Like, it's who Shar is and who I am to the core. So there's that. So we just want that. Secondarily, it's an adjacent place to train clients personally. Unbeknownst to us, we were going to do this anyway prior to COVID, and we were doing it right as COVID was happening. And then we doubled down and said, okay, let's put a little bit more money into it, not knowing what was going to happen to the gym industry altogether. So part of it, we look, there's no reason for a couple to have 5 pull-up bars in one location, you know what I mean? But it's in 7 barbells or whatever it is, but like it's worked out perfect. Like, it's been really good for us to do some of our sessions here, and for us,
I don't see any rings.
There's rings. We got 2 sets of rings. You missed it at the beginning.
Let me see again.
See, we got the plastic rings.
Where are they?
With the ruck bag, the box. There's one, and then the wooden rings are over here.
There's the rings. Okay.
And you slide them out.
I see.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
And how much?
And I got a Bosu.
How much do the kids like playing on this?
All the time. In fact, the little one, he's already broken one arm, so I'm waiting for him to do another.
Yeah, my kids love the rings. You put them, their legs in them and swing them.
It's the best. I like it. Interestingly, we put up kids swing up, and when we put the rings out, I would say that they probably swing on the rings more than they do the swing set that's designed for them specifically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I always tell my wife that when she buys toys. I'm like, stop buying toys. And she's like, it's good for them. And I'm like, no, it's not. Give them cardboard. Tell them to make something. I go, give them sticks. Like, we go to the beach. She used to take like all these plastic toys down to the beach to play in the sand, buckets. And I'm like, you shovel with shells. You dig holes.
Totally.
You collect animals. This whole, like, I don't want to sound racist, but like support this Chinese industry of plastic that actually is pollution because it's made from oil. It never goes back, and it's just crap. And it's I can't stand it. I can't stand it.
We notice a huge difference. Like, my wife takes the boys to Sweden for about 6 weeks to 8 weeks every summer, and at the most foundational level, our perception, and we're prone to error just like everybody in observation, but it seems like our kids are so much happier out in nature, minus all the toys and all the stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, it's unbelievable. I just took my kid to soccer today, and I watched all the kids play together and how happy they were, and it was just nice to see them getting that socialization that they haven't been getting. And oh, wait a second, I feel like I can't hear me at all.
I can't. I can barely hear you. I'm really.
Are you serious? You're having trouble?
Oh, that's way better.
Okay. But I found myself, it was her first day of soccer, and Izzy's a pretty good little athlete, but she just seemed not engaged. And I became that dad. I was like watching it, and I'm like, it's first day. And I'm like, get in there. Izzy, you need to get a... And I was like, I can't come here anymore.
You gotta chill, dude. That mess up the kids, man.
Yeah, I was like, I got to get out of here. Because I always tell her, I go, number one, most important thing, have fun. I'm like, have fun. But I just watched her like walking around just like da-da-da. And I'm like, not that fun. Don't have fun like that.
Fun is getting stuck in, kid. Look alive.
She goes, I don't have to win all the time. I'm like, yeah, you kind of do. And I go, it's the most fun? Winning.
Did you say that?
Winning's really fun. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure Lauren loved that.
Oh yeah, Lauren's like, thanks, Dad. Lauren's the complete opposite.
Oh yeah.
So is that a surfboard I see up above you?
It is. It's my wife's.
She surfs? She
does, and then there's her skis. So Char's an athlete, man. She's not much she can't do. If there's something she can't do, she goes like this, scowls until she learns it.
Wow. I wish I could do that. I've been working on guitar for like 5 years now.
Yeah, she just puts her head down and does stuff. It's pretty amazing.
I find I just listened to the Talent Code again on tape because I've been driving and I've been listening to it, and I found that I hate the whole idea of like the hard work, incremental, blah blah blah. It's so true, and it just sucks because you're like, when you're a little kid, you're like, I got my whole life, I can learn this stuff. When you get older, you're like, I gotta hurry before I die. Like
totally. It starts to accelerate. The sense of urgency starts to pick up.
Yeah, and I want to learn this shit. I want to get good at it.
Totally.
I'm so frustrated surfing.
It's funny though, as you say that, and I know you're thinking about that and speaking of that in some ways in a physical context relating to the talent code. But then, as I think about stand-up comedians and just in general, and just stand-up comedy as an art form, to me, I still think of it as arguably one of the most difficult things to learn and to be good at, and arguably one of the most underestimated as far as its actual difficulty.
Yeah, sometimes I think
people perceive it to be easy, right? Because
sometimes I think it is, and sometimes I think anybody can do what I do, and then there are other times when if I really wanted to nerd out and break it down to somebody, I'd go, if you knew what we're doing in the moment, the millions of things that are going through our head as we do a joke. Yeah. And it's just hard to compare to anything else because so many things like sports and things, it's like mindless. Like your subconscious has learned this, and it's just flow. Like you're just going. You're just doing what you've trained to be doing. Whereas comedy, there's a conscious aspect of it where you are telling a joke, but you're thinking about the joke down the line. You're thinking about, do I add this part so that I can do the callback later? Can I do the callback with this crowd because they're a little uppity? There's a person in the corner talking right now. There's a waitress crossing across the room that is going to be in front of me during the punchline. So I
check up early.
Yeah.
Fuck.
So I should slow down so that I don't deliver the punchline while everybody's attention is on her in front of me. There's a rasp in my voice. I have to clear that so that I can get this punchline out fluently. I can't remember the line there. Oh, what am I? There's just 7,000 conscious decisions going on.
Yeah.
And
I think Steve Martin had, I think, one of the best lines describing it. He said, great stand-up is conveying spontaneity. So you just described what goes through all of our heads, as stand-up comedians, and yet the audience interprets it as it's happening extemporaneously in the moment. And of course, there's so much of it that's crafted, that's worked on, that's chiseled, and there's so much of it that you're altering it in real time. There's so much of it that you're reflecting back. Okay, if they didn't respond this way, I know that if I go plan A, I'm walking into a booby trap, so I got to go to plan C.
Yeah.
Like all that's happening at once.
It's funny you say that about Steve Martin. First time I saw stand-up comedy, I thought they were making it up as they went along.
Yeah.
And
all of us did.
I was blown away that someone could be that funny just naturally and through spontaneity, and it was like watching magic, and I was mesmerized, and I remember who it was, and I went like kind of like weird, like I followed him out of the club, and I'm having a mental block right now. I can't even remember his name, and I'm friends with the guy. But I followed him out of the club and watched him get in a taxi. And I was like, if he had seen me, if he had turned around and seen me, he'd been like, somebody call the police.
Yes.
Because I was just like, how did you do that? And then I saw him about 6 months later at Caroline's, and he did the same act, generally the same act. And I went, oh.
That's what's happening.
And then I went, I think I can do this.
Yeah.
And I was but I couldn't do what I saw, what I thought I saw. I was like, I can't do that. And then I was like, okay, I can do that.
Well, I think the other part that people don't see is that, like, there's so much, the process to get there, I've always equated with kind of getting kicked in the nuts. Like, how many times can you tolerate getting kicked in the nuts?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of failure to get to that point.
Yeah.
When you believe in a bit or an idea, and you just got to, and you get stuck in, and you keep at it until you get it right, until it gets consistent, and then you get it where you want it. But that just takes a while, man.
It was Greg Rogel, by the way, and I told Greg that story one time when I was a young comic. I was opening for him at a college, and he's like, please don't tell anyone that I'm the reason you started comedy.
Oh yeah. That's amazing. I remember when I first started, there was a guy, and now I'm blanking. It's been so long. And it was my first year, and I go, what do you suggest I do? Like every amateur comic, like, what do you think I should do? And he goes, quit.
I think about those guys, and I get the whole quit thing, like where it's like, quit because it's so hard, you're not going to want to do that, like in a nice way. But there were a lot of guys who were dicky like that, who were like,
this guy was Dan Lewis. Dan Lewis told me, he goes, quit. I mean, you're too nice of a guy. This is going to be brutal.
Yeah, I get that. And I've had that conversation with people. I always say, is there anything else you can do? I've heard this one. You say, is there anything else you can do? When people go, well, I can do it, go. Like, you have to be like a complete, it's almost like a failure. I tell people it's more of a disability than a talent. And you have to be like, when COVID hit and I was like, what if I could never do comedy again? I'm like, what am I going to do? And I was like, I can't do anything. You know, like I am incapable of being successful at anything else. And so it's really for a subset of individuals who are mildly or incredibly mentally challenged. Like there's some kind of, like, I'm not going to say we're on the spectrum. Like we're on our own spectrum. It's like a weird spectrum that they haven't written about, and it's dysfunctional. And it's completely dysfunctional, the lifestyle, everything about it, and the need to do it, the desperation, whatever it is, the trying to gain significance. And so if it's there, it's there. You're going to do it regardless. It'll take you. But like if you have hesitation, I'm just like, don't do it. Like, don't.
Yeah, you definitely can't flinch. It's like it's not for somebody who wants to flinch.
And it's funny, I've had a weird week. I did Bert Kreischer's podcast, and then Bert brought up that I do all these, like, I mountain bike and surf and do CrossFit and all these things. And he was like, comics like talk about stuff, but you actually do it. Like, you go live this life. And I was listening to Rogan talk to Greg Fitzsimmons, and they were talking about how when comics start bringing golf clubs on trips, that it's kind of over for them, where they're picking their gigs based on golf clubs, where they can go play golf.
Yeah, I mean, like, we used to work for Bud up at Harvey's, and it was just sort of like,
ski.
Everybody's like, ski, and you're like, okay, can we? And I that's funny that you say that. I never thought about that, but that is kind of a truism.
But I've been doing that forever because I tried to explain it to a comic. I said, there's a lot of downtime. And I tried to build my life around where I had like this packed life, where like I did comedy at night, and during the daytime I'm either skiing, mountain biking, surfing, and I wanted just a full life. Whereas Greg was saying, like he would sit in a Starbucks and write jokes all day long. Yeah. And I was like, well, then maybe I'm not meant for it. Maybe there's just another level of guys that just this is it for them. But I just needed I needed a lot of I don't know what it is. Like I need variety, and I can't just focus on one thing.
It's never, since the day that I've known you, that's not your.
No.
Meanwhile, when you and I first met, it was in Indianapolis, and I was getting up early to go to a gym and then go to a Starbucks to write, or reverse, or go to Starbucks and write, then go to a gym, then do the show. That was like what I would. So I was a fusion of it. I'd go find a gym. That was my thing. Like, I needed to find
It's weird though, for as much as I don't write, I put out an incredible amount of material.
Yeah, you're very prolific.
Because my writing process is through talking.
Yeah.
And so, my wife will always go, "Oh, you're up all night and you're all you're doing is reading." I'm like, "You have no idea. I'm reading, and I'm just taking in so much information to build this, like."
Sure, and you got that pressure too. I mean, you've had all these albums and stuff. I mean, it's not easy to produce that volume of. It's just not easy to do. How many have you done now?
I'm working on January 22nd, where we'll be shooting number 10.
Fuck.
Yeah.
So many, dude. It's just so many. And do you have any albums that have any repeat bits?
Every once in a while, I'll repurpose one because it just like transitions me from one joke to another.
Yeah.
Or I do it like that. I forget that it's on another album, but I try to keep track of them. And
but generally, no. I mean, that's just a lot of. Dude, that's a lot of material.
The good thing is, as I make more money, I get to hire more people, and I get them to do the mundane, monotonous shit that I hate. I'll be like, go listen to all my albums and write down every joke I've done. So
there's AI that can do that,
Yeah, I know. I do that with every album. After I shoot the first one, I send it away and have them transcribe it, and then I go back and I try to, rewrite everything.
Yeah.
Behind you, Rogue plates. Are they worth it?
These ones have been worth it for me. I mean, again, this is just, it's for myself and clients.
Are they worth the money though?
No. I mean, look, it's funny. Like, our gym has been open we're going on 18 years this next year. We still have some of the same barbells. We got rid of the original weights in 2014 or 15. So we had them for a decade and finally got rid of them. And these were not Rogue. These are like bumpers. I'm forgetting what company they were. Look, they're great. They look good. They last. But, it depends on usage, man. So I think, your question is context dependent. Like, if it's heavy usage, there are lower priced plates that will be just as durable. We've experienced that. And so, in the end, if you're getting 10 years out of any plate, even if it's expensive, it's still going to be worth it. So if a couple grand is the difference over 10 years for an entire gym, that's actually, like, it doesn't really matter is the long-term answer. But if you're limited by funds, I wouldn't get designer plates.
Right. I just, it's one of those things where those plates are so expensive that I feel like that's one of those things that, people walk in and they go, oh my God, they have Rogue plates. Oh, wow, this is great. But again, we always talk about coaching over equipment. Coaching is way more important than equipment. I bought all my stuff from Mike's Fitness. And, it's half the price.
Oh, totally. And look, I've got like a stack of high temps right here.
Yeah.
That I've had for, a couple of those I've had 9 or 10 years.
Yeah.
So, and then I've got standard plates right there. They've lasted for a long time, man. So I think it just, like, it's all pretty durable.
Right.
If you want to be fancy, then buck up and pay, but it's not necessary.
Right.
It's really not, unless you're setting records or something.
Right.
And you want that panache, but if it doesn't matter, then don't spend the money on it.
Yeah, and the barbells, I can understand. Like, have you gotten any of the painted bars?
No.
I'm wondering if they don't rust, the painted bars.
Yeah, I haven't tried. I don't know. And that's something for us coastal people to worry about.
Yeah, because of the oxidation.
Yeah, it's such a pain in the ass. Like, even us moving. So we've all been in Santa Monica for, close to 2 decades, but we moved more west recently, and it's been tougher on the barbells. Yeah. Just getting a little bit closer to the ocean.
You're what? You're off of Lincoln right now, right?
Yeah.
So you're like 5 blocks from the beach or something, right?
Yeah, we're pretty close. We're off a bluff that goes onto the beach. But we're right on it.
Do you ever, like the old days, take a class down there to the beach or anything?
Well, I would say we moved there. I would say sans COVID, we'd be doing that with regularity. But right now, it's just, getting people consistent again in person has been the biggest sort of thing on our mind. We're close enough to do that. But our population is pretty flexible too. Like, we do trail running classes seasonally. We have a lot of triathletes. So, we're out and about anyway. So, we do have a practice of getting outside and getting off location pretty routinely.
Yeah. I want somebody, you and I, you've talked about this forever. We did, because you had your family's place up there in Santa Rosa. And I haven't seen anyone do it. The closest thing I would say is Froning with his, what's going on at his farm. But I've yet to see somebody do a compound. Raw in Pittsburgh's pretty good. They always joke they're going to put in a pool because they've got all these trails and everything around and hills. But I've yet to see somebody do a CrossFit compound.
Well, that's what the original Oak Park was going to be. 16 acres with 2 pools. I mean, and then it burnt down. And then my mom died.
So
hunt. That's what we did. Punt.
But it would be so cool to just see that where somebody had an obstacle course and gyms and pools and, just like this giant CrossFit facility. And I would think by now it would have happened that someone like a Ben Bergeron or something would build like an academy, where people come and they train and, with all these great CrossFitters and they all want to go there. I mean, because they kind of do it in Cookeville is kind of that place where people go to and what's it called, Power Monkey or whatever that they do.
Power Monkey.
There's all kinds of stuff. That's kind of like the mecca right now of CrossFit is Cookeville, Tennessee. But I just thought somebody with a lot of money would have built it, and like in action sports, there's Camp Woodward, and they have these camps all over the country now, and you go to them, and they're unbelievable. I mean, they are. The facilities are out of this world, and it's like everything I dreamed as a kid. So as an adult, and I'm into CrossFit, I'm like, where would this why hasn't somebody done it? Why does it not exist? I mean, CrossFit itself, you've got Rosa. Come on, you're in Boulder. Make some crazy. Crazy.
No, that could be a perfect location for it. And, to me, somewhere, a mountainous, altitudinous place would be just completely perfect for it.
It would just be so fun to go.
Totally.
Everything you could ever imagine under the sun for physical fitness is there.
Yeah, it's probably coming. And as, people are listening to this, I mean, look, you and I are peripherally I'm directly part of something that could look something like that. It wouldn't be at all directed towards the CrossFit community, more like the fitness community as a whole. Right. So there are things in place like that. It's just a matter. I think part of it too, I think people have missed being part of some of the conversations that have had the intent of designing these sort of destination-driven locations. There's multiple things that pull them apart. One is the assumption of scalability, which is like a business-wise, when you actually look at it, the investment would be not the best ROI. No. So you just have to have some real rich person just going, I'll take a loss or I'll take a zero and we're cool. And then I want the people to run it to make a good enough living where they can kind of hold the community together. But then the challenge then becomes you have these transient communities that are in and out. And so the thing that's sticky about this stuff is the communal aspect. But if it's transient, it's hard to create like a sincere sense of community. You get people that came in for a couple of weeks and had great energy, and then the next crew, they could be really fit, but they could be shitty people and make for bad experience. You know what I mean? Right. And then culturally, what happens is that you create this dysynchronous experience over time, and it's hard to keep it together. So if you're the person, or you got a team of people trying to keep a group together that's not vibing, or it's like it vibes for a week, doesn't vibes for 3 weeks, and falls apart for a month. That's just energetically consumptive and draining.
But I think something like, we're talking like, an Olympic training center where it's just a program that's somehow funded that by some major organization, something like CrossFit, where you've got top athletes coming in regularly, and can take this to another level. You look at the L1 cert people or the cert staff people, any level, and this is their kind of home where they go, and just as you advance in the sport of CrossFit and in this world, this is your place to go to get your training to keep it going to the next level. Yeah,
as you describe it, I'm reminded of when I was working with some of the track members at the Olympic Training Center in Chula Vista. Obviously the athletes that were going there were international class athletes, but they didn't make livable income. But the OTC effectively supported that. They could get their meals there. Yep. Things were at cost, and there's basically dorms. And so you have all these world-class athletes who, are known ish every 4 years if they happen to get TV time and they have a good pole vault or shot put or 110 hurdles. Right. You know what I mean?
Because that's what CrossFit is. It's
100%. You get the top percent making money, and then thousands of people making nothing.
And we criticize them, and then people are like, what are you doing? You're never going to make any money. Why are you doing this? And it's like, because that's what you love and that's what you want to pursue. And there's a lot of Olympic athletes out there that haven't made any money.
Listen, I was a sub-national class athlete in track, and I committed so many of my material, emotional, and mental resources to it. I mean, I gave it everything that I had.
Yeah.
Every dime, every weekend. I missed funerals, I missed weddings. I was like, that's what I was doing.
Yeah.
And the commitment was there. And I was like, look, I ran a 3:49 1500. Like, okay, that's fast, but not that fast.
It's not.
When I ran that, there was a guy 100 meters in front of me.
Yeah.
And I was running 61-second laps.
Oh, I know the pain.
And there was a guy who was 100 meters ahead of me. I came around the turn and he was finishing.
Do you watch, like I watch the Olympics now and stuff like that, and I try to see where I would be. I'm like, where would I be in this race? Where would I have finished?
As a 1500, this 15 final in this last Olympics was the best 15 final in the history of the Olympics. Yeah. To qualify for the final, you had to have run faster than a 3:33.
Wow.
It was insane. Like, Eddie, the speed. Nobody was this COVID thing. People came out and they're like, if you're going to win this thing, you're going to have to take it from me. Check this out. My daughter is here, and are you going to get your nails done?
Yeah, but I have a question of which ones I should do.
Well, I can answer those questions when I'm done.
Okay.
Yeah, but and Char might have some more input than I might on that. Eddie's opinionated about everything. We could ask Eddie. We could pause the WODcast. This is my friend Eddie. Come here. Let's ask Eddie. Eddie, we're going to pause the podcast. Hello, everybody. This is my daughter, Cameron. She's 11. And say hi.
Oh my gosh, you're growing up. You're 11 years old now?
Yeah, Eddie remembers when you were born.
Oh my God.
He remembers the jokes about you being born. Okay, so now.
What is the question, Cameron?
Now, Eddie, I can as a father, but you can as a friend suggest which she's down to two selections on nails.
Now I'm down to 7.
Okay, give us. Yeah. Hello, everybody. I got an 11-year-old daughter.
Welcome to the world of a female.
Yeah. Okay. So show Eddie. Give him 2 to work with. Giving Eddie 7 of anything will literally
make my
be the
head
rest of the show.
Yeah.
But let's. We gotta.
Can I do 3?
Okay.
You can do 3 for sure.
Okay. There's one, Eddie.
Okay. I like.
Go to the next one.
This one.
Not as much.
And then this one has little stars.
I'm stuck between 3 and 1. Definitely not.
Let's go to the third one. Let's go to the first one. Eddie, and then Eddie's going to weigh in, WODcasters, on my daughter's fingernails. She's going to get them done.
Because I'm a comedian and I like making people happy, I like the one with the smile.
Okay.
So I'm with number 1.
That's Cameron. Say bye to Eddie.
Bye.
Bye, Cameron.
Okay. Thanks, Eddie.
So cute.
She was when you and I are talking, she posted up. She's incredibly polite, but she was just waiting, and I'm like, oh man, like she's just not going to do a question, and so I just
my daughter would be going, Dad. I
wonder who raised her.
When Izzy was, I think it was 2 or 1.5. I forget how old. It was so young. We were in Australia. I was doing a show at a festival, like 500 seats, and every night for a month, I'm at the same venue. It's a tent at a comedy festival, and there's all kinds of stuff going on. So one night Lauren would come with me. We'd go around the festival to all the different things. There's rides and all things. And Izzy just loved it. And then Lauren would take her home because my show was at 9 p.m. and Izzy had to be in bed by 7. So one night I said, let's keep her out. I said, bring her in, let her see me go on stage. I go to be interesting, kind of weird for her to see what I'm doing in front of all these people.
Yeah.
So I go on stage and I said, as soon as I'm, introduced, just take her home. Lauren goes, okay. So I'm on stage, people, and I'm like, hey, Australia, it's great to be here, blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden, at the side of the stage is Izzy standing, and the stage is like her head just fits over it. And she's going, Dad, 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 Dad. And I think she must have been 2.5. She goes, what are you doing? What are you doing? And I go, Izzy, I'm like, where is Lauren? Where's my wife?
Totally.
Like, there's my child. And the audience thinks this is part of the show.
Oh, sure. They think it's a bit.
And I go, ladies and gentlemen, my daughter Izzy. And they're like, yeah, how cute. And I go, Izzy, go get mommy. Go get mommy. And I see Lauren through the aisle. I can see her at the end of the tent. And I go, Lauren, get her. And I'm like, I got to do my show. And I'm like, Lauren. And Lauren's giving me this, I don't want to interrupt the show. And I'm like, well, you are. So I'm kind of making jokes about it. And I'm like, Izzy, you got to go to mommy now. Go. And she starts crying and runs off to Lauren. The audience boos me. I'm 1 minute into the show and I'm getting booed for throwing my daughter out. So I go into the show. Izzy leaves. I go into the show, and about 5 minutes later, this drunk guy, just starts heckling me from the back. And it's not common to get heckled like this. And I just went, dude, I just threw my 2-year-old daughter out of here. What do you think I'll do to you?
Did he shut up?
Yeah, he did. But, and you know me, I'm not encouraging people to come heckle me, but I actually enjoy it. People are like, what do you do? I'm like, you give me variety in my life, so thank you.
Yeah.
Hey guys, here's the deal. If you are looking to excel at your next CrossFit competition or just optimize your workouts and feel better doing it, then discover how Thorn helps athletes from every background reach their potential. Through personalized scientific wellness, Thorn enables athletes to perform their best by addressing performance issues through testing, database solutions, and premium supplements. And with the most comprehensive line of NSF certified for sport products on the market, Thorn is the unquestioned leader in quality and in innovation in sports nutrition. Don't trust your body to anything less. Choose the supplement brands that have extensive third-party testing and the highest level of certification recognized in pro sports. Choose Thorn. It is the official nutritional supplement partner of CrossFit. Now, through CrossFit's premier partnership, all members get an exclusive 20% discount on all of Thorn's health solutions at Thorn, THORNE.com/U/WODcast. When I say you, that's the letter U. So it's THORNE.com/U/WODcast. You're going to learn more. They've got so many good supplements. They've got a curcumin supplement. I think it's called Moravia. It's the best on the market. I take their NAC every single night for lung health when talking about I had bronchitis. It's great stuff. There's just so much. Any kind of vitamin, I take their creatine. I love them. I seek them out. I went to them and said, I want to work with you because I love your product so much. I want to work with you. And they were like, hey, why don't we partner up? That's how it worked. They didn't come to me and say, sell our shit. We went to them. That's how much I believe in them. So I believe it's the best in the business. If you're going to put something in your body, you want it to be the best stuff. And I think if it's going to be anything, it should be Thorn. So again, we have our own storefront. Go to Thorn, THORNE.com/U/WODcast, and you're going to get 20% off. All right? This 20% off. No one gets this. Dylan, my nutritionist guy, was like, how'd you get that? And I'm like, I don't know. They like me. So you're not going to get it anywhere else. Trusted by 40,000 medical professionals, over 100 professional and collegiate sports teams, the UFC, and now CrossFit. Like I said, it's the official supplement partner of CrossFit. And you want to go to Thorn.com/U/WODcast, 20% off.
You remind me, one time I went to go see Ozzy perform with Jack, and Jack brought his daughter Pearl, and Pearl was like, so Ozzy's on stage, and she's like, hi, Grandpa. Hi, Grandpa.
How many years ago is this?
It's probably like 5 years ago.
Wow.
When he toured with Black Sabbath, he was amazing on stage. Like,
I've seen it.
Unbelievable. Like, it's just, I've worked with him privately, but then to see him on stage and like he just physically come, I'm like, what is going on? Like, how does he do this?
I was just going to get into that because I saw him in 1988.
Yeah.
And I thought he was dead. And
yeah, I mean, it's just, sorry, there's a helicopter overhead.
But I watched him get on stage and run from one side of the stage to the other.
Really?
And back and forth and sing all these songs. And I was like, there's two different people.
He was born to do what he does. There's no doubt about it. Like, is it meant to rock in this earth? I mean, to rock shows.
It's unbelievable.
Truly.
And he's still functioning well on stage?
I mean, I don't know. Like, I think the last couple of years have been pretty rough, but like.
How old is he now?
70, mid-70s, I think.
Uh-huh.
Probably 75, maybe. 74, somewhere around there.
And just massive amounts of drug use at a young age, right?
I think that everybody in the scene at that point, like the genre, the time and the genre, I mean, that was the path was through that, hard living.
Yeah.
Hard living.
I did the Brews and Blues Festival in Telluride a few years ago. And I got to share the stage with like Joe Walsh and Mick Fleetwood.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So
beat up.
I stood backstage. I had lunch. Like, we had a tent where all the artists ate. And so I'm like there with like Fleetwood and everything. And then we got to stand on stage and watch them play. And Mick Fleetwood looks like time has, in the amount of cooking.
Totally.
Up. But then he started drumming.
Yeah.
I just couldn't believe it. Was like watching Michael Jordan play basketball.
Yeah.
And I was like, how does he go? And it's just like, if that's what you've been doing your whole life.
It's what you do.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just wired, and again, back to the talent code and doing these things and the repetitiveness, but it's in you. It's just part of your essence, part of your being,
So you're saying that Ozzy's granddaughter's yelling at him on stage.
Yeah. I mean, obviously he couldn't hear because he's like, she's like, hi, Grandpa. It was this cute disconnect. Like, she doesn't know the effect that he has on the world. Like, Ozzy Osbourne is a unique. If you love Black Sabbath or Ozzy, it's just like it affects you so deeply. And she has he's also a grandpa, and she loves Grandpa, and she wants to say hi to Grandpa, and she doesn't know that Grandpa can't hear her from where she's at, and she's like, hi, Grandpa, It's just like, it's amazing.
It's amazing that music does that. That's got to be one of the, yeah, I was out last night. A bunch of people came to my show in Huntington Beach, and a buddy of mine plays in the band Filter. And I live in a neighborhood with a bunch of musicians, and they all came to the show, and they all think it's so cool, like stand up. They're like, wow, and I'm like, it's nothing compared to what you guys do.
Oh, yeah,
like,
totally.
To have people singing, the closest thing I can have is this new thing you probably haven't seen since you don't do comedy. I am not on TikTok, really. I just got on it, and somebody took one of my bits and clipped it and put it on their account, and it went viral. It got like almost 2 million views in a couple days.
Okay.
And the reason it did, it was a gun bit, so that's
sure,
it's contentious and starts to create.
Yeah.
But in TikTok, they have this function where people can like film themselves side by side of your bit, or them watching your thing, whatever it is, music video, whatever they're watching.
Okay.
So there's like thousands of people, doing lip syncing my bit. So they're lip syncing me doing, like, it looks like my voice is coming through them.
Yeah.
But they've had to learn all my pauses and
Yeah.
And I did no idea this. Like my I forget who showed me. It was like Oh, I remember. It was my wife's cousin, who's like a little young girl, showed me. She's like, "Have you seen this?" And I'm like, "What the fuck?"
Oh yeah.
And to see all these people lip syncing me, I was just blown away.
Yeah. What's going on?
And that's what it must be as a band, to be on stage and watch the whole audience just singing all these songs back to you, to know that you've had that kind of impact on them. Now, mine wasn't a good thing, because it was like all these right-wing zealots, like these crazy, I mean, these look like the people that stormed the Capitol.
Sure.
They have no teeth. It's the Duck Dynasty. And so I wasn't like, "Oh my God, I'm so proud." I was more like, I'm ashamed of myself. I should, does anybody know where there's a noose? But like, to be Ozzy Osbourne has just got to be, I put that up there, like, almost, I used to think as a kid, being like football player and running, getting that touchdown and having the whole stadium.
Yeah, but rock star is a different.
I think so.
It's funny, whenever I train, like, I've trained everybody, or a lot of, but
celebrities wise.
But every once in a while, musicians, I'll get a little bit like, whoa, okay, versus like actors, let's say, or athletes or executives, it's different. But musicians, somehow, it's just I'm not going to describe it as nervousness, but because that stand-up comedy kind of took that out of me. Yeah. But yeah, I get that, like, what you're describing when you're at these shows with these guys, you're watching them, and Ozzy's just another.
But we're all, especially in this world, we're all enamored of athletes and sports and think it's like, oh my God, that's amazing and you have such talent. But music gets like into people and moves.
Yeah, it moves you.
And so you're almost like a witch doctor. You've got like special power as a musician to move people. And people say that about Kavell, like, it's amazing, you make people laugh, and it's like, yeah, but it's so sporadic, and it's like, you do it, then you don't. Whereas music, the song lives forever, and it's
totally. Like, it's evergreen.
Once you like this, you never stop liking a song.
Totally.
And
totally in you.
There's something about it that is just, and music's it's been around since the beginning of time, and there's something so cool about it. And I've also learned lately, by trying to learn to play music, how incredibly hard it is.
It's so hard. It's so hard. It's so hard. I was lucky to learn how to dance, and then they were like, "Oh, you should be good at instruments." I'm like, not at all. Like, I can't. Like, I got rhythm with my feet, but like, you put like a pair of sticks in my hand or a guitar, it's like it's terrible.
Yeah. Did you watch the CrossFit Games at all?
No, not. I was going to and from Sweden, and I was kind of like checked out because I was just spending some. We go to a very remote island on the west coast of Sweden, so it was just we watched the Euro, which is that occupied our time, and I had some friends who are coaches, so I paid some attention to it peripherally, but not much.
It was fun this year. It was fun to see the guys' side, to see it not know who was going to win.
Yeah.
I just want, for the record, I want everybody to know, and Armin, you can go fuck yourself. Armin says that anybody that listens to the show knows I had Armin on, and Armin picked Fikowski to win, and I picked Vellner. So I technically beat Armin. But I will say, I didn't think Fikowski would come anywhere near third place. And I was so impressed by that.
Well, he's a clinician, man. He really thinks things through. Like, he's like not a mistake prone athlete, and he doesn't make, he's not impulsive with his decision making in game time.
No, I mean, I hate to say this, and it's, I hate to be one of these like hypercritical people, but I think the only thing that's keeping him from being a CrossFit Games winner is his height. That he's just not built for it.
Yeah.
I mean, he's amazing. He's third in the world. He's the third fittest man in the world.
Amazing.
But if he wanted to be first in the world, he'd have to lose what gets him a hot wife. you know, you're gonna give that up. You know, like that's how you're gonna be the winner. We're gonna have to cut your kneecaps out.
Yeah. He looks a little bit more like a beach volleyball player,
right?
Hybrid swimmer. You know what I mean? Like,
but Medeiros, or I think I said his name. I think he's going to be the guy. He's going to be the next Frazier. Where you're going to see him for 5 to 6 years.
He's a horse, man. Yeah. He's just a horse and young and like.
And he was calculated. He put it all together. He did it the way you do it, you know, by just like staying up there near the top the whole time. And he's going to be hard to beat forever.
It's funny. He reminds me, like, Noah was so strong so early. He was like a young guy that, and now Noah's, you know, like in his mid-20s. But I remember when he first came on, I remember interviewing him for like an event in 2013, and he was and he came out Guido to some event in Arizona, and I was emceeing it, and I was like, who is this kid? I mean, he was just a kid, but he was like unbelievable.
Right.
And Medeiros is like another, that times 3, I feel like. He's
and Medeiros has been doing it since he was like 15 years old, and that's what it's going to be. It's going to be like a high school sport that when they start to get college level, they're in their prime, and it's over for the older guys, you know?
It is. There's a generation that was doing this, you know, they're like part of CrossFit Kids classes and then competing. And very much it seems like what we're talking about is, are you doing this thing repeatedly? Is it part of you? And for a lot of these kids like Justin, it's a part of him. I mean, he grew up with it. So that makes a difference. Like, you know, watching, you know, with Lionel Messi's contract and switching clubs this summer, you know, you just kind of go back and you look at him as a child and you go, okay, this is, if these people are at that level that young and they're feeling it on the inside, that's hard to compete with.
Yeah. I don't know how I feel about that, having kids and watching them at such a young age. Like, I love introducing my kids to new sports and watching them. And I don't know if it's just because we talk about the talent code again, and Jeff Olson, who was an Olympic skier, was on here and he was talking about it. Like, you see it when they find a sport and they just become so passionate about it that you just let them go with it. And that's when they become great. But I see a lot of parents push their kids into a sport and specialize in it, and having kids myself, my kids like variety, and they want to play, you know, one day they want to skateboard, the next day they want to play soccer, the next day they want to ride bikes, the next day they want to, you know, do sprints. And I can't imagine with a child that young, like, and we're talking young, like 5, 6, 7 years old, just focusing on one sport. I just feel like it's unfair. It's so unfair to do to the child to just be like, okay, it's off to soccer practice again every single day.
You know, it's interesting because there's a big, like, we see this in Los Angeles a lot, you know, the specialization in sport. And it's one of the things that I caution a lot of parents that have reasonably high level soccer players. You know, I see it in baseball and soccer a lot. And now the club program for soccer is a lot different. Like, kids are opting not to play in their high schools and they're playing for their clubs or their academies even. And some of them are leaving to go to, you know, they've got academies in Florida, for example, that are grooming kids to effectively play in the MLS and in the European leagues. And it's just a different era for them. And they are specializing early. And with it, I think where it's helping some of the kids, some of the strength and conditioning coaches at these higher levels are telling the kids, like, hey, you need to be strong. You need to have some endurance. You need to be weight training. You know, they're effectively giving them strength and conditioning or CrossFit programming to support, you know, their training as an athlete, knowing that they're still developing neurologically, their bones are still growing, the tendons are still connecting in different ways. I mean, there's just so much happening to children as they develop. I think also, you know, on the other hand, you know, there is something very real. Like, if a kid is deeply passionate about something, if it's truly what they want to do, then supporting that. You know, I mean, I was I was a soccer junkie, and my mom supported that, and it paid off for me. I found, and interestingly, I started track late. Like I started track in my third year of college because I could outrun everybody on the pitch. I figured I'd be decent.
I didn't know you started that late.
No, and so I had kind of a reverse trajectory. I'd done martial arts at a high level, starting when I was growing up, and got my black belt when I was, 15. But like, so it was soccer and martial arts pretty much. And then track and triathlon and hip hop and all these other things started to become part of my life. But
that's a wide variety of, I had buddy, what's his name? I'm like I think I have dementia or something right now. I can't remember anything. Buddy Morris, who was he was actually my strength and conditioning coach at Pitt, and he's now the Arizona Cardinals strength and conditioning coach. And I had him on the show, and he was like, "Don't specialize. Don't have your kids specialize." He's like, "Play all sports." He's like, because if they specialize, they're going to develop only like one set of muscles, and they'll be prone to injury later. He's like, you want the
that's what I was going to say. Like, the industry is set up to make parents and kids fearful that if they don't, they won't excel later. And that's there are tons of examples of kids that continue to do a variety of sports and do a variety of things physically that succeed at high levels in their sport later on. So I agree with him. I see that firsthand. And again, like, and what I do say is I think some of these strength and conditioning coaches at these specialized sports places are starting to catch us and go, look, we got to get the kid off the pitch or the field or the, whatever, the basketball court or whatever it is, and get them training in a variety of ways.
Well, that's what has happened. I've seen in swimming and soccer, like you say, with these clubs. One of the things they said is these kids that we're doing, and this happened when I was in high school. I had some friends that were great soccer players, and one was the Gatorade Player of the Year, and we had a state championship team in my high school, and or second in the state. They actually lost the final, but these guys were doing the team, the high school team, and then the club soccer, and they're saying that leads to overtraining, that leads to injury. And it's one or the other, guys. Pick, are you gonna play it? And I see that my buddy just coached a kid who went to the Olympic trials in the 50 meter freestyle, and he was doing the club. You've got two coaches then contradicting each other sometimes.
Right.
Both coaches were at the Olympic trials. You got your high school coach.
Oh, God.
Yeah. And not saying that was bad, but, it's like, who do you listen to? Who do you take the advice of? And I asked my friend, because he's the high school coach, he's like, I take a back seat to the club coach. And I went, okay, who decides that? What? And it's just, it does seem to me a little bit too much. I ran for a track club. And it was, I don't know if it was my junior or senior year of high school, where a guy just came to me. There was no push by my parents whatsoever. They were like, okay, you won again. Good job. There was, and this guy came to me and he was like, hey, do you want to run for our club? And I was like, what's that mean? He's like, you're going to run all summer. And I was like, all right. And he was like, you get all this cool, I got like shoes and bags and all that. I was
the whole deal.
I get cool shit, and it was good. It didn't ever really interfere, and it probably helped me, especially transition to college, but it wasn't too much. But I see some of these kids where it's overload.
Yeah.
And I guess you have to have, there's this little girl you should look up. I think her name's Sky Brown.
Okay.
She is a skater, snowboarder, surfer. She was in the Olympics. I don't know how she did. She was skating in the Olympics, but she's so young. She's a British girl, but she lives here in America. And she's just so good. And I think she's only like 14 years old or something.
Yeah, I think in the end, like as I listen to you, like I'm just reminded, like, look, sport and learning new things. I mean, fundamentally, like we could have conversations about what's best for people, best for kids physiologically, what's good for them psychologically. But I think even more simply in some ways, just learning how to do complex and difficult things and efforting through that, like those are universal life principles that are transferable. And so if you get good at executing difficult things, then that's a stack that you can continue to develop. And I think that that's missed sometimes in either being too general or too specific. Like we can lose sight of that. Okay, now's the time to effort. Now's the time to learn. And there's, we push. This is about will. Okay, now this is about skill. And isn't that the balance in life? Sometimes we got to will things and sometimes we got to skill things. And then if you learn how to keep that on a continuum, a rotational continuum, then you're just developing as a human in perpetuity. And I think agnostic of whether you've specialized or you've generalized, if you've got that capability, then that's applicable. Now, it will matter at a certain point if you just haven't had the skill, like trick and skateboarding. But if you're, skateboarding and snowboarding and doing, things that require all these kind of balance, and your body, the proprioception, and you're just, okay, I'm just going with the season. You're dancing with the thing, and your body is able to figure out more and more and more difficult things.
But the skill thing is hard to. Will's easy with children because they just want to and they will push through sometimes. But skill, it's hard. That takes, to get them to focus and pay attention, especially coming from, I've always found as a parent, it's hard to teach your kids skill where I could teach other kids skill. Like people will pay attention. I used to coach or teach skiing, and it was easy to teach other kids.
I think it depends. Like I think sometimes people need a push on the will, and I think sometimes our kids need a push on the skill. And here's what happens though, when people develop, and we talk about will and skill a lot in our coaches development program. So, I think about this a lot. It's like once somebody develops a skill to do something, they're confident, their confidence goes up, and so does their confidence. But as their confidence to take on something new and more challenging comes, their confidence is going to dip until they develop a little bit of skill to handle that thing, right? So it's a circular wheel.
Sure.
You have to keep going, and if it can circle, it can spiral up. And again, that's the life teaching right there for everybody, for kids and for adults, is to go, okay, how do we continue to add complexity, at the right intervals in our life? And sometimes we get overwhelmed by that, and sometimes we get underwhelmed by that. And that's where boredom can creep in. If it's overwhelm will happen when it's too much for somebody.
Yeah. That's a good point. Has Crazy Bobby been to your gym there, your home gym?
He has. He was literally here less than 48 hours ago. Yeah, I think about 48 hours ago he was here.
Oh my God.
It was great. I had Max was crying, and I'm like, okay, Bob, I gotta go. And he's like, one more thing. Here's one more way that we can stay. We can live to 150 years. I'm like, brother, and my son is like literally falling asleep. And I'm walking in the house. I'm like, I love you, dude. I gotta go now.
Bobby will never understand that because he's not in that world that you have to go when you have to go. When you have a kid and they're, because Bobby's a child himself.
Oh, dude. And so I had my 3 kids and Bobby, and it was funny because all of them were talking to me at once, and it was like the end of the day. And I was like, so I got one crying on my shoulder, the other and then Bobby's just, I'm like, brother, I need to not have 4 people talking in my direction because I'm not processing any. My fatigue is so deep right now with just information coming in, and my brain can't. I don't know where to categorize any of it.
I cannot wait to see Bobby 2.0 in Sun Valley with his 10-acre ranch.
Oh, it's amazing.
It's
amazing.
I do this. I have another friend that lives on a farm, and I love to. My friend's crazy. He builds motocross tracks and half pipes, and I love to plant bugs in his ear all the time.
Yeah.
To just be like, hey, what you need here is a rope tow.
Oh yeah.
You should put a rope tow up here.
No, I don't.
And my friend does it all the time. He'll the next thing you know, he's building a tunnel from his house to his barn. And
so you're the one causing a lot of work for me, because this is what happens. Bobby gets all the ideas, and then he goes, okay, here's, and it's like 1,000 things, and my job is to go, well, here's what's essential, and whittle it down. And so I didn't know that you were the fucker that's giving him all the shit, that's chewing my time, that I'm not getting paid from, that I'm not parenting, and I'm not helping my people. So thanks for that, Eddie.
I send him photos constantly. Constantly. I'll be like, you should build this, Bobby, and you should have this.
No.
You can put a slack line from here to here, and a zip line back. Slack line over, zip line back.
Ideation is he's not short on ideation, and you supporting that is trajecting him in the way I find, as a friend to both of you, unhelpful. So there's that. Thank you, Eddie. Thank you.
Well, what's going on at Oak Park?
And I feel really good about, we got through the pandemic. We amazingly didn't lose any value. We didn't have to create alternate products for what our business was. We just did what we do. And I feel really lucky and really blessed and really fortunate that we had the team that we have. Also, I feel really lucky that, look, we moved 1 month prior to the pandemic starting. And so I just put a lot of money down on a downtown location, one of the 4 priciest places on the planet. I just not excited about that, and very nervous. But it allowed us to do some really critical thinking about what is it we do, and what's the value that we hold for people, and just really simplifying that dramatically from. I mean, Eddie, look, businesses are going to go through evolutions. And so, we're on year 17. And so you just have to get clearer on what it is, and really comfortable about not worrying about what other people are doing or what other business are like. Listen, we're going to focus on what we're doing and really try to do it to the best of our abilities and stay working as a unit. And our team is stronger than ever. I've got coaches that they're paid well. They've got benefits. They can raise families. It's really I feel really lucky, Eddie.
Let me ask you a question about that. So you guys are you focus on your current membership, where other people try to expand and create programming and do this, but you do something unique. It's out of the mind of Kenny Kane that built your gym that's different. It's not, you're based in CrossFit, but you have your own thing and your own kind of coaching, your own kind of teaching. Is there going to be a way that you can expand that make it global, that people from the outside are going to be able to get your coaching or get your theory?
We've done something for the last several years called the Craftsman's Workshop. And we have really qualified coaches come in, and they'll stay a couple weeks with us. And we go through everything with them, and they go back to, we've had people from literally Europe and Australia and all over the world come and do the program, but it's not a scalable program. Mm-hmm. I'm not a fan of scaled coaching in general.
Right.
I can see why the market would offer that. But in the end, I personally value coaching where you can see and feel people.
I agree.
And that's just me. I don't agree that everything needs to be scaled and you need to have 1,000 people in your program all paying $20 a month or whatever the hell it is. I actually think that that's a distraction, and the vast majority of those people don't.
No, the point I'm making, and I don't want to put down anyone who does that. I think it's great.
No, neither do I.
And I've used a lot of outside programming from people who I just go, hey, I know enough myself, and I don't want to be my goal is not to make it to the Masters, or my goal is not to do this or that. So I'm just I need to look up every day, and you you basically take the work away from me putting together my own program. I just want to look at that. So I don't want to take away from those. But what I'm saying is you have something to offer. You don't offer it to other people, or like, I would think there would be people who would go, hey, there's a lot I can learn from Kenny Kane and what they do at Oak Park. It's like Charlie Francis. Charlie Francis didn't really sell his stuff. I think his wife sold his stuff after he passed away. But there was this amazing mind of Charlie Francis that had all these volumes of training methodology that I remember when I was running, I had my track coach at Pitt, and I was like, I want to know what Charlie Francis is doing. How do I get this Charlie Francis shit? This guy's like really good. And it was like, share your shit, like let the world grow from expertise. And,
I think, it's funny that you asked that, because that's one of the things that, as I look at my, my personal future, like, am I going to stay in the United States? Am I going to be bicontinental living in Sweden? Or will I set up an institute in Sweden and then keep Oak Park? Like, these are all considerations for us as a family, right now, because my wife is very in Sweden, because she's Christian. We have family. We have no family here in California or in Southern California. So it's really challenging. And you and I have talked about this separately, but, as all these things come up, my coaching and leadership legacy, I know can have value for other leaders, other coaches, in general, because the things that look, if I'm to leave one message behind, like, nobody needs to hire me to get this lesson, but this is one thing that I'd offer to everybody that listens, is like, we've been through so much as an organization. COVID gave us the gift to really shrink down what it is we do. And like, what it is we do is we want to grow people sustainably. How? Not necessarily through GPP, which is what most people talk about. And you get stuck in the 10% conversation, which is what's the programming. But what I'm talking about is GHP, general human performance. And so I think that that's somewhat unique to Oak Park, is that that's the focus. So if you're not growing sustainably over time with consciousness to how that's applicable to your life as a person, you're missing so much of the value. Like, if your physical programming, if your physical training doesn't make you a better person, in our business, we've done a poor job for Oak Park. So, this whole thing for us has been an exercise, is shrinking down a major concept that I think everybody can get down with. Like, look, and if you can't, if you just go, look, I don't want to think about that. I don't want to have to worry about, I just want to sweat and not think about being a better person. Awesome. Our gym is not for you. And our coaching is not for you. And we literally hold no value for you. But I will say that I feel like we've been leading the curve quietly for a long time in this conversation of, hey, train so that you become a better person. Like, really. Not just so that we use the cheesy example of, can we get the suitcase overhead? It's, we got this 4-year-old right here, and life is hard because he's crying and Bobby's talking and I work 16 hours and all those other things. And who am I in those transition moments? And can my physical training program be a mindset gym as well as a gym that handles the physical part? Can we have appropriate conversations of, will versus skill? Can you undulate your ego so that the same workout can be a test, or it can be a learning opportunity? And that's like, that to me is amazing, that you could take the same workout and go, well, look, on one day you could just develop massive skill doing that workout. On the next day, you could be tested as far as your willingness to effort as hard as you can. It's the same workout, but two different experiences.
Yep.
We're the people that founded that, dividing that concept and going, okay, now the coach and the athlete can decide the mindset of that. And that's very powerful. And I would just really encourage, like, if I'm leaving anything behind, it's that. Nobody needs to come spend, $3,000 on the workshop with us. They can just take that and apply that to their teaching or their leadership or their gym owning or their surfing. I don't care. Like, that's like, shouldn't we all ask a basic question? And if I leave a legacy, I'll be honest, I'd like to be thought of as one of the people who's leading that conversation. And just because, I'm not on Instagram saying that, like, doesn't mean that the question doesn't exist, And I also feel that, like, less is more, because from the way I've experienced it, Eddie, that kind of work with human beings is complicated. People are expensive with time and energy. And I once thought, I've got tons of energy, and most of it's positive, and I love to give it, but there's a limit.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And my ego would like to think, everybody needs to know about this. And it's just like, but can I do a better job with what's in front of me? And can I do a great job with the coaches? Can I teach them how to take this? What I just said is very simple, but when you execute it, it's hard. It's challenging. You got to have, there's so many
like going
things.
Back to what we talked about with stand-up comedy.
Dude, there's exactly. There's
a million
50 things going on in 1 second.
All the nuance and all trying.
It's the nuance.
And it's all trying to make that, and every single person that's coming through your gym has a different story and has to find their story. It's almost like being a therapist. You're going to have a different story with your client to trying to make their life happier and better.
Totally.
And so as a trainer, as a coach, you're going, hey, I can get this guy to squat this much. That's easy. That's the easy part.
Yeah, that stuff's so easy. That's not the hard part.
But should he be wasting his time
totally
doing this squat when it's not going to make his life better?
Totally. Yeah. And that's a really interesting conversation, because people perceive, they'll go, okay, well, it's metrics and it's whiteboard, and then I've got to record it. And it's like, okay, those are good habits. Those are all great. And improvement in performance is measurable, and it has meaning, but it doesn't define your identity. And so what we're constantly having to do is strip down people's identity. And one of the malallocations, I think, of CrossFit, and I say malallocation, is that we invest too much in our identity equaling our output, like literally being, what's the score? And the score is a perfect heuristic to go, am I pointed towards a true north? Like, is the work that I'm doing useful? Am I doing something even more meaningful?
I've talked about it. I don't want to open up a whole another can of worms, but it's so funny. I love talking to you because our conversations flow effortlessly. Sometimes I have guests on the show and it's just like, it's hard work, but with you, I feel like we could go for hours. It's like our phone conversations. Sure. But I have this theory with comedy, and I got to this place with my career, and we could equate it to CrossFit and training. Out there, people look at, and I get it constantly, as soon as I say I'm a comedian, they bring up Dave Chappelle or Bill Burr, and they're like, oh yeah, Dave Chappelle, and they're the best, and they're the this, and I'm like, okay, yeah, they're the most famous, they're the most successful, and I do think both those guys are incredibly talented and funny and work so hard. However, like, I always say to people, they're like, are you happy with where you are in your career, or blah, blah, blah. And, and I go, yeah, absolutely. And, they're like, oh, you should always be wanting more, this or that. And I said, a lot of times we equate success with money. And it's an American thing. It's capitalism. It's how much money does he make? He's the most successful. You've got Kevin Hart. And I always say that's an easy metric. We can look at, like, how much money do they make at the box office, or how much money do they have in their bank account? I wish there was a metric that you could put on people where you go, what's their happiness level?
Yeah.
What is their happiness level? Oh, he scored a 98. Oh, that's great. Oh, this guy made $10 million, but he only scored a 4. He's a 4 on the happiness scale. And then you go, well, I don't aspire to be like that. What is this guy doing that's on a happiness of 98? And I think that with CrossFit too, that's great. He was 22 years old. He qualified for the games, but at 32 years old, he couldn't walk,
or is miserable or whatever.
Yeah. That to me, or even he qualified for the games and he hates his life.
Totally.
That is not the metric of success. Like, that is not success to me. Show me the guy who has this well-rounded, amazing life where his training, like what you're saying, makes him a better person, which makes him happier, which makes the people around him happier. And that is the metric of there is no metric for that. But it would be when you're talking about, when you said we have the board and there's no way to measure that. There's a way to measure, hey, you just did a 203 Fran. You're amazing. But is there a guy that did a 450 Fran that now will be able to help his wife more and do this and do that, and he's going to be better at work, and he's going to he's brought that to his life. So it is a hard thing to put a metric on and to talk about, but I see where you're going with this, because it's honestly how I live my life now. It's everything encompasses something else. I had the talk last night with a whole bunch of these guys. I said, I think I might start taking jiu-jitsu. And they said, why? I said, my son is 2 years old and I'm old, and he's going to be 18 kicking my ass. And I want to be able to choke him out.
Right, totally.
But I want to be there and be able to say, hey, you're not tougher than Dad. Let's go. And so it's something I've got to add into my quiver, into my arsenal. Is that's going to make me a better person. And I'm joking, obviously. I don't want to choke out my son. Sort of. But he did punch me in the face the other day while I was sleeping. So he's going to get it. But my point is, there's a development that needs to be.
Well, we talk a lot about this with our team development. There's in positive psychology, there's a wing called, that's influenced by something called self-determination theory. And I brought it up a couple of years ago on the WODcast. I forget what we were talking about, but really it comes down to, these like evergreen concepts of autonomy, mastery, and purpose. And if your training doesn't have purpose, if you don't feel like you can develop some mastery, if you don't have increased levels of autonomy, you're not. But your autonomy's got to feel like you're part of something, right? So you can have and this is where the gym cultures fracture a lot. So it's one of the reasons why we don't exactly have open gym, because you get subsects that go, well, I'm going to go do my own thing. And then you create subcultures, and slowly those subcultures start to fractionalize the unity of the core. And it's not that anybody's doing anything wrong. It just slowly starts to disintegrate the whole of the thing. And I know that some people could rightfully challenge that concept. It's just something that we've kind of played with through the years. But we also know that a lot of times people are needing to work out, but they're not giving consideration to where they're at in life. So you get this, you get people we're in a community of over-exercisers too, which is people are hiding their shit.
Yeah.
And so, if we just talk candidly about what's really going on, and if people are over exercising, it's just, okay, cool. You're right. It's not a bottle. You're right. It's not a line of Coke, but are we still doing work? And now I'm not the person to do the work, but I do know we are hiding from something that still needs to be addressed. And so murdering yourself in a corner under a 40-minute death march, and then not going to class and not communing with people and being the person with the knee sleeves and the whoop and the whole thing, and the 9, amino acids with the protein shake after, and then the God knows what in between, okay. And now you haven't said hello to anybody. You're not part of any community. You've isolated yourself even further. You've taken a photo of yourself, isolating yourself further. Like what's happening right now? You're fit. You're totally fit. True. And so I offer that as a critique, just to kind of go, look, there is a way to train with people to kind of keep you in check. And that's why I just say coaching has value, because all of us are masters of impulsivity. And the thing that makes the impulsive mind interested at 9 a.m. is different than the impulsive mind's curiosity at 12, and certainly different at 4 p.m. Because impulsivity works that way. But intentionality works very differently. And intentionality can be kept in check with people in community and people who have coaching relationships with you to go, like a Sherpa might, is that really a good idea right now?
Yeah.
And all of us are like left our own devices, like, and sometimes we socially group and make poor choices as groups,
Sure.
you know? And so it's difficult to make better choices that yield a better life over longer periods of time, because that's invisible, that's disciplined, and it's harder to see. But yet to me, although I just described a very impossible business model, I'm here to say it's doable, everybody.
Yeah.
It's doable. And we don't need to let the tail wag the dog.
Yeah.
You can choose what your company's about. You can choose what your business is about, and you can lead your people in ways. It's not easy, but you can lead people to more meaningful conversations over the arc of time. And that to me is like, that's interesting, to lead a business where coaches stay for 5 or 10 years at a clip, where community members stay for 5, 10, or 15 years at a clip, where you don't need a revolving door, where you have a lower volume of people that you pay attention to, and you have a cadre of teammates that want to work together and problem solve.
That, because that's not a common thing in this business. And I've thought about that in comedy, that, you know, constantly there's new talent out there, and it's always rotating. But I look at like New York City and the you know, reading the talent code and thinking about how good the comics are in New York.
Yeah.
And I go back to the Comedy Cellar and I sit at that table, and there's the same crew that was there 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And the Comedy Cellar has cultivated it and kind of become a family, and this group and these guys have slowly, incrementally become legends in comedy. Legends, because there is that community, and Comedy Central or all the other things are always looking for who's the new hot thing.
Of course.
Where the Comedy Cellar is like loyal to these guys. And these guys come and go. They are hot. They are not. They are hot again. They are not again. They are always there. And within that, someone's always picking up the slack and bringing the others along. And there is this team that is just, when somebody writes history books of comedy, which they will, or do, they will look back at this kind of place as it wrote its own history. And
totally.
Yeah. So I get what you're doing. I understand it. Sometimes I was always like, what the fuck is, oh, excuse me, the kid's there. What is Kenny doing? But I am going to let you go, because I know I'm about to go. My daughter wants to go mountain biking, and I know you've got your,
we're going to rotate here.
Yes.
So we're getting off. My wife's looking at me like,
go.
We got to
go. Take care of the kids. I appreciate your time. I know the people that listen to, everybody loves Kenny. Anything?
It's so fun. I can't believe the show's 10 years old and we started it together. It's crazy.
It is crazy. Is it 10 years yet? I don't know.
It's coming up on
10. It's around 10.
We have to go back and look, dude.
Yeah, I'll look it up. I'll look it up because I have the date of the.
You know what we should do on the 10-year? You, me, and Armin just do a show with the three of us.
That would be awesome. Well, where do you want them to find you since your social media?
Listen, just come to the website, oakparkla.com. I'm Kenny at oakparkla.com. If you found anything interested, any coaches or gym owners that are interested in the Craftsman's Workshop, I can guarantee like a transformative experience with that.
I'm coming in the next couple of weeks to do a class and watch you guys go because I now have the kids at school, so I can actually get away. Right. So, Kenny, thanks. I love you, brother.
Love you too, dude.
All right. Have an awesome one.